Jesus freak here, and my comments here and elsewhere about the whole Mohammed thing seem to have provoked a bit of negative reaction. I mean, I did a video more directly related to this after it flared up here, but it flared up in another forum too, where someone was insisted I was jumping to conclusions. Now, facts are just facts, just dry data. And I provided that. I also provided my interpretation of that data. And some people took offense with the direction I was going with it. And one person disagreed with my interpretation, said, oh, a bunch of kids being named Mohammed doesn't necessarily mean there's a lot of Muslims out there. Which, the conclusion I had come to is, where you're likely to find kids being named Mohammed, it almost certainly means the parents are Muslims. I mean, who else would name their kid Mohammed? So I got some flack because I had made that leap in logic. And said that because there were enough kids being born to warrant Mohammed being the 10th most popular name for new baby boys in the U.S., that must mean there's enough Muslims to be their parents. Because the stance was Mohammed's not necessarily a Muslim name. It kind of is. I could see if it were something like, I've seen a lot of Arabic names that don't necessarily sound like they'd have to be. I don't think if I saw, say, Rashid as a name, or Abdullah, that I'd necessarily assume they're Muslim. I'd probably just assume they're Middle Eastern. I mean, they'd probably be Muslim. But they don't have to be. And the chance of them being Christian then is fine. Rashid happens to mean orthodox, little o orthodox, and Abdullah means servant of God. There's no reason a Christian would take issue, if they happen to want an Arabic name for their kid, then they can use those names just fine. And yes, Arab Christians exist, as much as a lot of the evangelicals I seem to see around seem to deny this fact and treat, Arabs and Muslims like they're one and the same. But yeah, I have no. I wouldn't necessarily assume Rashid or an Abdullah was a Muslim, but a Mohammed, I couldn't possibly see a Mohammed as being anything but at least born Muslim, or whoever whoever's reason the name is Mohammed. If if they change the name to Mohammed, it probably means they converted to Islam. Like Muhammad Ali. But I can't necessarily make that assumption about it. And I mean, these are just two names that I happen to think of that I've seen a lot: Rashid and Abdullah. Just, and I know they're stereotypical. Well, it's kind of making my point to use such stereotypically Arab names as that. But those don't necessarily need to be Muslim names. They could just as lief be Christian. But Mohammed, a Christian, wouldn't probably dare name their kid after the greatest Muslim to have ever existed. That would almost sound sacrilegious. I don't think they'd do it any more than they'd name a kid Krishna. Or Jupiter. Which I'm aware it's not exactly fair, although I think I have seen some people whose name is actually Krishna. I don't think, Hindus have that kind of hang up about naming their kids after gods, but of course, gods, because we know how that actually rolls. But with any piece of information, any possible interpretation of that information has to be weighted on a probability scale. Let's say we're going to interpret the name and the prevalence of a whole bunch of Abdullahs as meaning there's a bunch of Muslims. The probability would be high, but not nearly absolute. Mohammed, the probability would be almost absolute. So it's to a point where I'd say, I think it's safe to say that a lot of Mohammeds implies a lot of Muslims, where that couldn't necessarily be said for a lot of Rashids or Abdullahs. Just thought I'd get that off my chest a bit. Jesus freak out.